Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I never want to hear anyone say that this podcast does not give the people what they want, because I asked you last week whether you would like Sam Milner to appear on this very channel in the hours before Arsenal's visit to St James's Park in the second leg of the League Cup semi-final, and you voted in your dozens and said, yes, please, get him on the show. You want a bit of his positivity. Well, here he is, ladies and gents. If I had a round of applause to give out, I would do. Sam, welcome to the show.
Is that what you spent your budget on, that new intro?
It's nice, isn't it? I know you miss the smooth jazz, but it's nice, isn't it?
That's what you're spending your money on, my word.
What about behind you? Look at all this.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, it is. It does look very good. It's a bit of a task to get in behind that for a man of plus sizes. But yeah, no, it looks great.
Fine. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that wonderful compliment. I hope you guys are liking how the studio looks. As we said there, Arsenal in the second leg of the League Cup semi-final. Something has caught your eye. What is it?
Just the potted plants, which just seems so unnecessary.
Just add a bit of
Yeah, but everything's Newcastle, and then you've got two, and they're fake. I can tell from here. They're not particularly good fake, but it's just utterly pointless.
Okay, let us know in the comments if you think they are also utterly pointless. But yes, Arsenal tonight.
Yeah.
League Cup semi-final, second leg. Newcastle have a 2-0.
Bring your scarf.
Bring your scarf. There's a scarf currently around the neck of the Alan Shearer statue. I've just walked past there.
But not Bobby.
Not Bobby.
Oh.
I didn't clock Jackie Milburn. Totally forgot to do that. But there was definitely one around Alan Shearer. I think more flags have been out, and I think they did put scarves around each one of the statues. But as we said, they're 2-0 victory down at the Emirates.
I was there.
Really important lead coming into this game. We've titled this, "Are you nervous yet?"
Just a bit.
Yeah.
Terrified. But at the same time, I was having a long and detailed conversation about this on my podcast last night, which is available to watch now, both on YouTube and all your favourite podcast apps. We're 2-0 up, which is a position even the most positive of Newcastle fans would never have imagined we'd be in after the first leg. It's still surreal that night at the Emirates now, but it's just that it's so tantalisingly close. You're just desperate for us to not muck it up. Tonight is going to be awful. The first goal is so crucial. The atmosphere has to be that of PSG vibes. That night was so tangible. You could taste the atmosphere, and whoever we played that night, whether it was PSG, Real Madrid, whoever, they were getting it, and we were going to smash them to bits. And that has to be, it has to be on a par with that tonight. Yeah, I'm terrified, but look, we're 2-0 up. It's ours to lose. Trying to be as positive as I can, but I'm always, nerves get the better of me.
Do you know what? I'm not feeling anything yet. I thought I'd be feeling nervous and a little bit worried, but
because you're dead inside and have fake potted plants in your studio.
Perhaps that is the reason, but I'm just feeling a little bit, I suppose, relaxed maybe. I said the moment the draw was made, I said Newcastle will get into the final. As soon as Arsenal came like that, I said we would get into the final, and I stick by that. I think tonight will be horrendously nervous. I think you will bite every nail that you've got, but I think Newcastle United will get through. And the key is, you say, two elements. You need the crowd properly up for this game, and that early goal needs to go Newcastle United's way. One of the discussions currently on social media is about how the atmosphere is set pre-game. War Flags have put the call out to bring your scarf, so that'll be quite the sight. But talk about whether maybe Thunderstruck from AC/DC should be played beforehand, and they change the way the players come out onto the pitch.
They did Thunderstruck for the last semi-final, didn't they? I seem to recall. And of course, the club put out a fantastic little vignette last night of Johnny Sax, Sam Fender's saxophone player, up on the roof, playing Local Hero.
Well, that is the other whisper that Sam Fender might be performing pre-game. I can't quite see that one happening.
I can't see that either. I think it will just be Johnny Sax on the pitch blasting out Local Hero, which I like. I mean, I'd say it quietly. Johnny Sax is more of a Newcastle fan than Sam Fender. But,
oh my God, there we go.
There you go. But, you know, I have friends that went to school with him. But anyway, that's a separate story. Yeah, it's going to be a very special night. A very, very special night. And hopefully it's going to be special for the right reasons. But every time we kind of question this Newcastle United side under Eddie Howe, and you think, oh, we just expect to mess it up. We haven't. We didn't mess it up against Southampton, and I still remember the feeling 2 years ago when we were winning 2-1, 3-1 on aggregate into stoppage time, and we were nervous about throwing it away against the worst team in the Premier League. They'd have to score how many just to take it to extra time? It was so silly.
Well,
and then the same against PSG when Lucas Hernandez got one back. You think, oh, here we go, it's all over.
Do you think that's Eddie Howe's biggest challenge, not just tonight, but in general, to kind of build a side that gets the results and puts in those performances that when you are faced with a game like you are this evening, and it will happen again, either next season or whatever, just to have that mindset of actually this is Newcastle United and we are going to win here. They're trying to eradicate those nerves.
I think what I love about Howe in moments like this, he's so good at taking the emotion out of it. Because the emotional side of things is for us, it's for the fans, it's for the people watching at home. That's for us. On the pitch, you need them to be cool and clinical and not get overawed by the emotion of the situation. We have to look ahead at not wanting to get players. I haven't done my research prep, so I don't know if any players are in danger of potentially missing the final, having been booked in the first leg. But we don't need any sendings off. We can't be going into another cup final without a key player like we did last time in Nick Pope. There are a couple of selection dilemmas for tonight. The last two home games have been appalling, both on the pitch and atmosphere-wise as well. I think that's where we need to improve collectively for these home games where we now are just turning up expecting to win, and it's just not quite that simple in the Premier League. We can't afford any more of those. We couldn't afford the Fulham one on Saturday, to be brutally honest. And we've got a horrendous run of fixtures coming up, and all of a sudden, not to kind of doom-monger slightly, but we have to consider this reality is that if it doesn't go our way tonight, we then can't rest players on Saturday because the FA Cup all of a sudden becomes huge. And then we're into a horrible run of fixtures where we have to go to Man City. We have to play at home to Nottingham Forest, which, given our home form, would be on the dire side against a team who've just come off the back of a 7-0 win against Brighton, who've done us here. Not at the Chronicle office, but at St. James's. But it could be. This is why this game and this week in particular is so pivotal. It's huge.
But that goes back to the mentality question, because I think a lot of our listeners and viewers, and this is my opinion as well, if you ask me who you're more confident about getting points from, City, Forest, Liverpool, part of me still says, quite a large part of me still says, yeah, I'm not scared of those games. I'm more scared of facing someone like a West Ham or a Brighton, because for whatever reason, Newcastle just stumble against the teams that maybe you do expect them to beat. Whereas you go into tonight's game against Arsenal, yes, they won 5-1. Yes, they've won 4 of the last 5 and drawn the other one. Yes, Newcastle's home form of late hasn't been brilliant.
Yeah.
But I'm still confident that Newcastle United will pick up a victory tonight, just simply because they seem to be a side that manages to get up for the big games.
Yes, that's very true. Very, very true indeed. Against the kind of top teams, in inverted whatever, we do the occasion we rise up to. So that is on our side in essence. This is why the first goal is so crucial, because then you think that's pretty much job done if we get the first goal. On the flip side of that, Arsenal could be 2-0 up after 15 minutes, no bother. So, Phil, whilst I sneeze.
Well, I suppose you... Bless you.
Thank you.
You mentioned there the semi-final against Southampton, the last time Newcastle made it to the Carabao Cup final, and Sean Longstaff got the goal, the opening goal, didn't he, in that game?
He got the both.
Yeah, and funny enough, he could be the man who starts tonight in the middle.
Yes, he could. Joe Linton, it'd be a big shame, but if he's not 100%, he's not 100%. There's no point in risking him. The reason why it's a shame is because Arsenal fans and their team in particular absolutely despise him. He's right under their skin, and I didn't quite appreciate until very recently just how much Joe Linton gets under the skin of these rival oppositions players and fans. And He's brilliant. He's exactly the kind of player we want, especially for a situation like this where if we do go 1-0 up, he will S-house the place up. It would be an absolute joy to watch. I don't have any real issue with whoever comes in to replace him, to be honest. Willock, I mean, look, stupid racial abuse he received at the weekend, which there's no place for. Whether it doesn't matter who it's from. It's just absolutely pathetic. Just again, it just comes back to these Sadak people with no life. But aside from that, his performance was very, very poor on Saturday off the bench. It really narked me. He looked incredibly rusty, which was quite concerning. Fulham were deserved winners. I know we hit the bar twice. Isak at 1-1 should have scored for me in a player in his kind of form. I know it wasn't the easiest of chances, but still, he's red hot at the moment. Miley did okay. Longstaff has kind of fallen down the pecking order for the last few games. Miley's come on before Sean now, which could tell you that he may be up for sale come the summertime, where he'd just have 1 year left on his contract. But I wouldn't be against Sean starting tonight on the right and shifting Bruno across to the left.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the pecking order, because here, Chronicle Towers, all the writers were asked to pick the starting 11. And obviously the big discussion was about the midfield three and if Joelinton is missing. And I said, well, I think Eddie Howe will go for Sean Longstaff, but if it was me, I would go for Lewis Miley, simply because Miley has come off the bench in the last few games and Sean hasn't. And if you're talking about players being rusty, then Sean is going to be rusty. And I think the issue that comes with playing Sean from the start, which I do genuinely think Eddie Howe will do.
I agree.
He'll be the first one to come in for criticism if in the first 10, 15 minutes it's not going Newcastle's way. He makes a misplaced pass straight away.
Yeah.
The criticism comes. And I mean, that's not the only element to why I wouldn't play him. I just think, for me, Miley, he's got more minutes on his belt. He's going to be fresher, and he would be my pick, although I don't think it'll happen.
Thing is, without Willock's stinker of a performance off the bench on Saturday, I would have just said, right, Willock goes in, straight in, no bother. You need that energy, that dynamism to be able to carry the ball up at times from midfield. And does Miley have that? No, not really. Does Sean? I mean, he could still adapt. He's still a child in footballing terms. Does Sean have that? No, not really. He's more of a kind of Jordan Henderson type figure, to use it to make a horrible comparison.
It's not. I mean, if he has
less combative against the press, though, is Sean. I don't know if you saw that Jordan Henderson thing.
If he has a career like Jordan Henderson, though, I mean, he's not going to. But
yeah, he made a great living from passing sideways.
He won plenty of Premier League titles.
Title.
Well,
it's not very much not plural.
He won plenty of.
But he's that type of player, is what I'm saying. Willock can get the ball and take you up the field. He has great pace, great energy. But my God, he knocked the bejesus out of me on Saturday. It was just so frustrating on every level.
Maybe, you would have to think he's aware that his performance wasn't great on Saturday. Maybe this is the game.
He's not the only one. I now worry about. I mean, the last time I was here, we were praising the hell out of our two young fullbacks, who had been on a tremendous rise. Last couple of games, they've been very poor.
Well, that annoyed me on Saturday because it played out very similar to how it played out down at Craven Cottage, where they allowed Iwobi and they allowed Traore just to feed him the park.
Yeah.
We said in the build-up, like, you can't allow them to do that. They have to have learned from the mistakes, and they just didn't.
Nope.
And tonight, okay, they might not have Saka, but they're going to have the likes of Martinelli.
Is this a night for Trippier?
I've seen it mentioned in it, and a few people have said it is. For me, I would stick with Tino Livramento. I think that athleticism that he's got up against whichever wing it'll be, I think is really important. Obviously, Trippier brings that experience, but then his cameos off the bench haven't been brilliant of late, and it's a balance of what you bring him in the side for. You bring him in the side for a cool head, a leader, a voice, then fair enough. But has he got what it takes to take Newcastle over the line in terms of, creating chances, scoring goals? I don't know. Has Tino? That's the other question. But for me, I would pick Tino.
At the moment, he's more of a Wan-Bissaka type fullback, defensively sound, but has to work on his game going forward. There is glimpses there, and I don't have any qualms about Livramento in the future whatsoever. I think he's a fantastic young player. Just some players have got the better of him of late.
You sound like you would have Tino out and Trippier in.
Yeah, I would.
We've got.
Do you know what else I was going to suggest as well? And I'm not saying I'm do this. I would do this before you all get in the comments and have at me. I have a little theory.
Oh, here we go.
How may be tempted with maybe shifting Burn back to left back and bringing Botman and Schär together once more.
That's quite the theory. Let us know in the comments whether you.
I just think he might want to be more defensively sound, but then I'm just throwing that option out there. To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if he went unchanged.
It's quite
well. He has to go. He has to make one change if Joe Linton's not fit. But other than that,
it's quite the ask of Dan Burn to shift out to left back, having played the season at centre.
Hey, he knew what he was doing when he got rid of Lloyd Kelly. What a fee that was, by the way.
Yeah, good old Paul Mitchell working his magic. But I mean, I can't see Dan Burn going left back.
No, I can't either. But I just thought it was an interesting option. Now they're all fit again. We'd kind of been exposed out wide against Bournemouth and Fulham. And it would just maybe I thought would potentially give Howe food for thought.
I thought Burn was probably the better of the centre backs on Saturday.
Yeah, I would be dropping Fabian Schär to be honest. I would go as the first leg, Burn and Botman for me. Botman, I know they're both left-sided centre halves, but Botman did very well on the right-hand side of the centre back pair and at the Emirates, and I would be bringing him back in. There's a lot to kind of overcomplicate these selection dilemmas, and we were discussing this after the Fulham game, and it just comes down to just play your best players, play your best team. Stop looking around and just play.
I suppose now the form's dropped off, and that was maybe the excuse that Howe was using not to bring in his best players on paper. Now the form has dipped a little bit. The want to see best players in the starting 11 is maybe a little bit easier to do than dropping an in-form, say, Dan Burn or an in-form Martin Dubravka.
Schär's not in form.
No. But I mean, look, people know my views on Schär. What about Martin Dubravka versus Nick Pope? For me, it's got to be Dubs. He's got to stay in that starting 11. Are you keeping him in?
I am not asked.
Fantastic.
I don't think it makes a blind bit of difference which goalkeeper is in the sticks. No, I don't.
Interesting, because I do.
Well, okay then. So were you not a bit miffed for Fulham's second goal with Dubravka at the weekend?
Look, if you're blaming Martin Dubravka for that,
I'm just thinking he could have done better, but
he was let down by Alexander Isak, not Marky, not following the man in.
Well,
like you cannot be blaming Martin Dubravka for that second goal. The two goals on Saturday against Fulham were schoolboy.
Oh, they were minging.
By Newcastle United,
they were awful.
In which the defence totally let everyone else down, or the players who were in a defensive role.
Much like the game at Craven Cottage, which I was there for, and it still gives me nightmares some days because that was just such an awful day. And it was vastly apparent they hadn't learned their lessons defensively whatsoever, and it was infuriating to watch. And you should never lose the game going 1-0 up at home.
Well, they need to learn the lessons for tonight because Arsenal will punish them if Newcastle defend like they did against Fulham.
Look, that gives Arsenal confidence as well. Our last two games at home have been, I know it was only 2-1 at Fulham, but it was a resounding defeat. Bournemouth was an embarrassing defeat, and Arsenal are coming off the back of a 5-1 win against Manchester City, who, yes, they're right, they're not in the greatest form this season, but still, 5-1.
Oh, they'll be flying out with confidence. Of course they will. But I also think there's quite a bit of pressure on Arteta. I don't think people outside of Newcastle, I don't think many Newcastle United fans feel that this is a foregone conclusion. I think Arsenal, and as a sum, of expected to come here and get a victory. And I think he is under a little bit of pressure to make sure that they do, because they're not going to win the title. And he can't go into another summer having won nothing. He needs
They're out of the FA Cup as well, aren't they? They lose to Man United?
Yes, they did, yes.
So it's this in the Champions League, really.
And that plays into Newcastle's hands, that pressure on Arteta and the squad to turn this lead around in their favour. That plays in Newcastle's hands because...
Quite a big away end as well, I've heard this evening.
3,500, is it?
I think it's more.
Is it?
Apparently so. I've heard on the grapevine.
Some night. Dive in the comments here. Buster says, you can't judge Willock from a cameo appearance. How is Sam?
It wasn't a cameo appearance. He was on for a good half hour.
Trill says Trippier will be run ragged in their opinion. Darren says, good idea, Sam, moving Burn to left back. But what about Lewis Hall?
We'd have to sit one out, wouldn't he?
Bob says, I think
And
Botman will
that's
come
not a bad thing, by the way, because like obviously, again, last time we were here, we like Lewis Hall. Wow, what a season he's had, and what a journey. It's okay to come out for one game. It's not. It doesn't mean that you're not valued. It doesn't mean that you're not good anymore. It doesn't mean that you're facing flack or criticism. It just means like this is what we need with squad depth. If we're going to go into the Champions League again, there are going to be times when players are rested and dropped. Let's not forget in Sir Bobby's time, we won it by Leverkusen with Brian Kerr in midfield and Stephen Caldwell at the back. So we need, squad depth. It's okay for players to come out for one game. It doesn't mean that I don't like them anymore.
Rotation is good. Johnson says we need Botman in alongside Byrne. We were so much more solid then. And Bob says more confidence in Martin Dubravka. So plenty of split opinion on the key decisions being made there. What would it mean, Sam, to get to another final?
Again, I was talking about this on my podcast last night, the Greenwood and Mulliner Show on Newcastle Fans TV, available on all podcast apps and on YouTube. My overriding feeling coming away from Wembley Stadium 2 years ago after we lost the final was obviously one of disappointment and frustration, because it was probably where we'd hit a lull in our season. It came at the worst possible time. I told you all the day before that Isak needed to start, but he still went with Wilson, who came back from the World Cup, remember, in such awful form. We haven't even mentioned Wilson; he could be involved tonight. But my overriding feeling, other than that, was if we can get back here soonish, I think we go and win it. And I still feel that way. It's obviously not going to be easy because we've got to get through tonight first, and the other two sides, one would be incredibly jammy. The one are the best team in Europe right now, who I hate with a passion. But I just feel like last time it was all a bit of a novelty. We'd all gone, collectively as a fan base, 99% of us went way too hard on the Saturday, and we were all knackered by the Sunday. And the atmosphere in our side of Wembley was a bit flat. It was a bit naff. It was a bit flimsy. It's not what we can do. I just feel if we're there again this time, things will be a bit different on and off the pitch. And last season in this competition again was such a fabulous opportunity that we just mucked up. And I hope we don't do the same tonight, because these are the games you want to be involved in, and I maintain the novelty will wear off, and I think this could be our year potentially. It's so close.
Fingers crossed, you are correct, and I share every kind of sentiment that you've echoed there, because that you've said there, because I did feel when we went down to Wembley, it was like big party. We were grateful to be there,
and all these local media outlets putting on events at pubs around King's Cross.
You'll not want to be invited this time around. Then
am I going to be on the panel?
We'll talk about that if we get to the final.
Can't afford me. You've spent it all on potted plants.
But it did feel like we didn't belong. Whereas this time,
it felt like a massive novelty.
Yeah, this time it feels like I think we will belong, and if we get there, hopefully,
because we were still on that wave of post-takeover elation where everything was just great. Life was great. Everything was great. Ashley's gone. Everything's great. We're spending. We've got Kieran Trippier at Newcastle. Bruno, how good is he? Alexander Isak, what a talent he's going to be. Everything's great. We're having this cup run. We're going for top 4. Everything's just fantastic. But now we're a little bit older and a little bit wiser. The squad's developed a little bit more, and I say developed with no new really incomings in the last 3 windows, but you get my drift. A bit more experienced, and we've had the Champions League season. We came close to getting this far in the competition last season as well, and I just think the novelty will hopefully wear off a little bit. Yes, of course, we'll hopefully still have a great time down there, and I've booked my hotel for the Saturday as well as the Sunday, which is refundable. The last thing I want to be doing tonight is requesting my money back from Travelodge.
Yeah, I think everyone is in the same boat who has made the jump and already booked their hotels. There will be 4,800 Arsenal fans there.
Yeah, big allocation. So yeah, we need to keep them as quiet as possible.
The thing is, with Arsenal, like, and Mikel Arteta was asked about this in his press conference, and he said, "Oh, they're a bit of a bogey team, Newcastle." And he said, "Oh, I don't know what that word means." I think he definitely did know what it meant.
Of course he does.
They don't like coming here. They do not like coming here. And with the pressure that I think is definitely on Arteta tonight, the first 10 minutes is absolutely crucial. And you've already said it. It needs to be PSG-esque. It needs to be first flying challenge, getting the crowd up, hopefully an early goal as well, because we can get under the skin of Arsenal and Mikel Arteta. We're already under the skin. We just need to, I don't know what the right metaphor, analogy is. We just need to turn it up slightly.
Well, yeah. It seems like under Arteta they don't like coming here. Prior to that, it was a pretty happy hunting ground for them. I think is it 14 years to the day since the 4-4 as well.
Chip Teotti with the
God rest him. So it just, and that game just shows they can come here and be 2-3 up in 10 minutes, and then we're just all left dumbfounded in the stands going, what the hell has just hit us? They have to be respected, but they can't be overly respected. We do have to start fast and keep those that big away allocation quiet, which we should be able to do very easily. But yeah, they're going to need everything and more this evening, and we just hope that the players rise to the occasion, which they have done again against like the so-called top teams in the division so far this season at St James's.
Newcastle fan says we need to score first, and an Arsenal fan has jumped into the chat on YouTube and says 4-1 to Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. Benny says Arsenal.
Notice how Isak plays for Newcastle.
Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't need reminding. Hopefully, well, Isak can give him a reminder tonight and bag a brace or even a Harwick. Benny says they're not even that good. Rice is a cart horse that can take and swinging corner. Odegaard kicked the wimp out of the game, and Lewis Skelly, another arrogant Arsenal.
You say that about set pieces there. That's obviously they've gone all Stoke City with their approach to corners now, haven't they? Which we dealt with pretty well at the Emirates. So obviously that's something that we need to be wary of as well. I'm sure our set piece coach has been hard at work over the past few days, but it's one to take note of. A very un-Arsenal way of approaching things, which is for looking at it from their perspective is actually pretty shrewd, I think.
If Joe Linton is missing, do Newcastle have the physicality to win that battle?
Yes, Bruno and Tonali are no slouches, and Lewis Miley looks like he's been pounding the gym for about 6 months non-stop. He looks like a man now, whereas he was very much a boy last season, wasn't he? I do think we do have that physicality. Don't get me wrong, Joe Linton's a loss. As I said right at the top, he gets under Arsenal fans and Arsenal players' skin like you would not believe, and it's such an asset to have a player that we love that everyone else hates. I think we should be still okay, but that could be another reason why to potentially play Burn, Share and Botman as well.
But as someone said there in the comments, Burn up against the pace of Martinelli. Not something you
kept Dembele quiet.
He did.
Like Naby Solano told me, the first 3 yards are in here.
Very true. MVP Leisure says one of the most important people tonight is Tyndall. Needs to get under the skin of Arteta again.
Well, the day ends with a Y, but he'll be fine.
Stephen says, sorry lads, Arsenal are due a big result here. Don't be surprised if Kai Havertz gets a hat-trick tonight, and we need to score first. And that was one of the things actually on Sunday against City. Like, it's bad enough them winning 5-1, but for Kai Havertz to get on the score sheet was the one thing I didn't want to happen. I wanted him to come in this game feeling proper rotten that he missed another bag full of chances again, but he had to score in that game, didn't he?
Yeah, but look, we know their strengths, we know their qualities. It's nothing new. They're the second in the league. They're there for a good reason. They're no mugs. We made them look like mugs at the Emirates, but had Martinelli gone through and put away his chance at 0-0, it could have been a very different game. And these are the kind of moments that can make or break a fixture. It completely turned on its head after that. A similar event could happen in the game tonight. It's one of those things. It's just, we are in control of the tie. I love the fact that there was no dressing room photo after that win at the Emirates, because everyone knows it was not job done. A phenomenal start. We went there hoping for a draw, maybe take a narrow defeat.
I didn't.
I was
go
hoping
for the
for a
victory.
draw. Well, of course, that goes without saying, but reality sets in, and there's still a kind of bit of negative mentality when it comes to us, which still will inherently be beaten out of us, in essence, essentially going forward once we, do start winning these sorts of ties. But we're 2-0 up. It was only our second ever win at the Emirates, and it was a great night, and we are in firm control where most people thought we'd be having to really chase the game tonight.
Yeah. Just a reminder that this episode is sponsored by NordVPN. Click the link in the podcast description box to get a heavily discounted offer exclusive to our listeners and viewers of the Everything is Black and White podcast. It'll be perfect for you if you are going to head down to Wembley to watch Newcastle, hopefully, in the Carabao Cup final. John says, we've got this, lads. Arsenal do not turn up against us, home or away. They'll bottle it tonight. Come on, lads. From North Wales, I can't get there, but big voices needed tonight.
Yeah.
We've got the Arsenal fan back in the comments saying you had Isak against Bournemouth and Fulham and lost. You lot are going out right. He is confident. Peter says,
it's easy to be confident, though, while you're sat in your mum's spare room in your Transformers pajamas.
Don't anger him. Peter says, Sam, Dan Burn at left back is the most horrendous idea out there, even worse than Trippier, who's lost 2 yards of pace, and we will
didn't
get hammered.
say I would do it. I was just merely highlighting an option. I would play Trippier, though.
To kind of phrase says, I'd play a 5-4-1.
Absolutely not.
Bringing Horn into midfield left at times.
No. And we know that there was a couple of games in the early seasons of how, wasn't there, where you think, well, we'd go to Man City and go to Anfield potentially, and you think, will he deviate from quite a forward-thinking 4-3-3? Will he maybe go 5 at the back? And he doesn't. He sticks to a forward-thinking approach, an attacking approach, a kind of Newcastle approach that we were accustomed with under Keegan and Sir Bobby, and we attack. So I don't think I like that we adapt, and if it's 1-0 to Arsenal after 70 minutes, he will go 5 at the back and try and see the game out. But from the start, nah.
What will the approach be then? What will be the message in the dressing room? Will it be go out there, get the early goal, and make this ours, or I'm just trying to get inside the mindset of Eddie Howe and the players?
Let's chuff and give it to him.
Think they'll be going for victory on the night?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be crucial we get the first goal. If we don't, and Arsenal score early, I wouldn't know whether to laugh, cry, or poo. I'd probably do all three at various stages of the evening.
Darren says Arsenal fans thinking they've won this tie before a ball is even kicked. You couldn't make it up. And if you go onto social media, you can see there's a lot of confidence from the Arsenal side. And a lot of people have been already saying this is Arsenal's game tonight. They're going to win.
Very peculiar fan.
Does that play into Newcastle's hands as well? Because we've maybe been stung in recent weeks and months when we have been unfortunate enough to lose. And the criticism from some has been that Newcastle have underestimated teams. Did they underestimate Bournemouth, for example? If Arsenal underestimate Newcastle tonight, then they could get an absolute shock of their lives, right?
If Arsenal underestimate Newcastle, I don't think they'll do that. They're 2-0 down.
But there's a fine margin, isn't there?
If you're 2-0 down and you're going in underestimating your opponent that has a 2-goal advantage,
okay,
then you deserve to be sacked.
From a fan point of view, there is a lot of confidence from certain sections of the Arsenal fan base that they will come here tonight, and all they've got to do is kind of turn up and they'll win. That's dangerous from their point of view.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them. Have a nice night. Been a
Fingers
long way home.
Newcastle United get the win. We've got 2-1 here from Buster. He says Isak and Gordon with the goals. To kind of first says at times Joelinton dropped in to make a back 5 at their ground at times, and he's missing tonight. So,
what are we going to do though? Because Lloyd Kelly dropped in at the Emirates, didn't he? And we played 3 left-sided centre backs for the last 10-15 minutes. But Kraft's fit now, isn't he? So he can come and fill in.
But interesting there that I think to kind of Fraser's point is that actually forget Longstaff, forget Miley, and put Hall in the middle.
No, I don't see why you'd do that.
Not for you? Not for you. There we go. Darren says Arsenal fans are deluded, lot like. And John says, does Pope start tonight? We've said Europe. I've said no.
I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't demand it.
I just think if when the ball goes back to Dubravka and he's been chased down by Martinelli or whoever it might be,
yes, it adds to the drama. Do you not remember the end of PSG? Where he just kept kicking it out of play on the left. Didn't matter what else was happening.
All part of the plan.
Was that managing the game?
For me, Martin Dubravka remains in net. Botman to come in. I said in my starting 11, I don't think I will do that.
He has to.
Kind of indifferent about it.
There's levels to this. He has to. Botman, I put up there with Bruno, Tonali, and Isak. Gordon as well.
Oh, he's definitely the blue chip player. Definitely.
He could slot in. I know he's just come back from an ACL and he's not fully wound up yet. But the Botman we had in that 4th place season finish would slide into any back four in Europe and not look out of place.
Well, let us know in the comments your thoughts ahead of tonight's game. What will the starting 11 be? Sam, to finish off then, I'm going to present you a scenario.
Okay.
Your phone is ringing. It's Eddie Howe. He says, Sam, I want you to come into the dressing room 7:45. And I want you to deliver the team talk.
And I'd be saying, how much?
Would you really?
Yes, because he is paid a handsome amount. And that would I would have serious question marks about his ability. But I'd do it.
For the point of the podcast.
For tickets to the final, yes, I'd do it.
For the point of the podcast and for our viewers and listeners out there, what is your team talk to the players ahead of the kickoff? What would you be telling them? Would you be pinning anything up on the dressing room wall? Would you be...
I'm trying to think as I'm now one of the assistant coaches to my son Charlie's under-8 side. Yes, goalkeeper coach, because I am overweight. Just what I'd say to them before they go out for a big game. 5-0 and 1-0 wins at the weekend, 2 clean sheets. Have that. Look, just...
Come on.
It's just because I have my own feelings, but then when you're telling a team of players, because what I would want to say is, along the lines of bring the passion, bring the noise, be first to every ball, do not let anything slip. But there's no point riling everyone up. You need them to be calm and focused and logical. And the emotion, as I said earlier, is for us. It's for us in the stands to create an atmosphere that they can then feed off. And through their performance on the pitch, we then feed back off that. So with the players, you've just got to stay focused and stay switched on, and don't let the occasion get to you, and stay calm. Play the way we know we can. We've beaten them twice already this season. So why is there anything new? There's nothing. They can't bring us anything different. We know we've got this. They're missing their best player. As Eddie said in the Amazon documentary, chuff and give it to him.
Peter says we will win this and forget calm. Let's get riled up. Let's get stuck into them.
Yes, we should. We should absolutely bring the noise, bring the energy, bring the passion, bring your scarf, bring everything you've got, because they will need it at some point across the evening, especially if Arsenal go 1-0 up. They can't be getting the vibes of nervousness in from the stands if we go down and concede an early goal. That'd be the worst thing that happens, because that will then transpond onto the pitch.
Benny says, I'd be saying to the players, Arsenal think they're coming here and winning 3-0. Show them different. Let's knock them out and go to Wembley. However, the lads. And Roger says, we love you, Sam, but don't give up your day job.
Well, no, I won't.
For me, I'd just be reminding them about what it means to this city, what it means to the people in the terraces, the fact that it's 70 years since Newcastle won a domestic trophy, and the history that they are on the verge of making, the heartache that they would have felt after that Wembley final against Manchester United and the missed opportunity that was there. More importantly, that
you can't say that for a semi though. I would apply that more to the Chelsea game after last season on penalties. You got to get there.
Yeah, but I think you've got to just remind them on the verge of making history and what could be, and you're in control. And
they are in control. That's arguably that's the worst thing about it.
Yeah, because it'll prevent complacency. I think the important thing is just to say like that. This is where we want to be. This is where we want to be as a club, as a squad, as a fan base. We want to be in these games, and we want to be winning these competitions. And tonight is another step to doing that year in, year out. And yes, we've got to get to the final, but we're in control. And this is yours to lose.
Yeah, you remind them of the qualities, you know. It wasn't too long ago we had the best back four record in the league. You know, we've got the best midfield, one of the best midfields in Europe. We've got one of the best strikers in the world. Two of the most energetic wingers we could ever hope for. Anthony Gordon, you know, verging on world class. Jacob Murphy, who obviously isn't world class, but what a record of assists he has got this season. You can't argue. It's just everything. We have all the tools to go and do this tonight, and all the tools to go and win that cup next month.
There you go. That's exactly what they needed to hear. Benny says the historic thing just adds pressure. Make it personal between Arsenal and Arteta. It's worked plenty before.
I agree. The trophy thing can be parked. I don't think that necessarily helps. You absolutely learn from your experiences last time out because it was the same group of players, the same manager, coaching staff, and everything. It's going to be a horrendous night, isn't it?
No, it's not, because they're going to do it and they're going to win.
Well, I hope so. It's either going to be horrendous or horrendously wonderful and beautiful. But I don't know.
And the message just needs to be: get into them. Just get into them.
Get into them.
The physicality is where you're going to win this battle, I think. They're not going to be up for the fight.
The midfield, well, we have to dominate the midfield, and we cannot keep getting caught out wide, which I think you need a cool head. That's one of the main reasons I'd be playing Trippier tonight.
Well, there we go. Let us know in the comments what team talk you would deliver.
What's your prediction?
What's my prediction?
Yeah.
Ooh. But you know what? All this week, I've not given an actual score prediction. I've said Newcastle are going to win, but I've not given a score prediction because I just don't know. 2-1, 1-0, 2-1 to Newcastle.
Going for a 1-1 draw.
Okay. Does it matter how to get there?
Not care less.
So they lose 1-0.
Oh, fine, don't care.
There we go.
It's knockout football. It's aggregate scoreline. It's knockout football. Doesn't matter how you get through. Just do it. It does not matter. Same on Saturday, because you know if we get through tonight, we can have the luxury of resting a few players at Birmingham on Saturday. You know, the TV companies think that's a potential joint killing eight. So, whereas if we don't win tonight, then there's pressure to win that game.
We've got Roger saying 2-2 and 4-2 overall. Peter saying 3-2 to Newcastle. Graham says first goal always important. Mind the lads, we've beaten them throughout the last two games. They've not had a shot on target. Stay focused and use the crowd. Jack says barely any goals tonight. Benny says we'll be nice and tight and a 4-5-1 narrow midfield. I did have a dream that we won 4-2. We were 2-0 down at half time.
Absolutely not.
Anyhow,
absolutely not.
Did what he's not done in the last two games, and whatever team talk he delivered, and we went out and won 4-2.
Will we see Callum Wilson tonight?
Do you know what? That's the other wild prediction that I made when it got announced that he was injured. All those months back, and I said he's coming back for that Arsenal game and he's scoring the winner that sends us to Wembley. You could see it happening, right? And then he gets injured.
Then he gets injured again and he's out for the season. That's his last appearance for the club.
Not a bad way to go out, though, is it? Imagine firing.
He deserves better than Callum Wilson. I don't like the disrespect he gets. I get the frustration that he's always injured and whatnot, but let's not forget how wonderful he's been.
Oh, yeah, look, and there's no disrespect in terms of the quality of player and what he's achieved in Newcastle.
It's such a shame. We've had so many of these injury-plagued attackers down the years.
No, certainly so. And he is outside the Mr. Alan Shearer, one of the best number 9s we've seen, I think, at the club.
Probably third best.
If he was fit all the time, goodness me.
Isak's overtaken him now, though, hasn't he? Premier League Newcastle goals, and yeah, hopefully, I'll maintain if Isak stays with us, signs that new contract, hopefully in the summer, then Alan's record is in big danger.
Well, fingers crossed that happens.
Not the Premier League goals, I mean the overall one. The 206.
It'd be some achievement. Ladies and gents, this has been the Everything is Black and White podcast, but an emergency episode because Sam was up in the city. He is going to the game tonight, so we felt we'd get him on with his scarf. You're going to sing on your way out? Or are you just going to twirl the scarf?
I'll just twirl the scarf and try not to hit you.
Picture frames, are we?
Nowhere near. There's like a big gap. I could lean back. Mind the potted plants is what he actually meant.
But yes, Newcastle United versus Arsenal. You can follow the game through our dedicated live blog over on chroniclelive.co.uk. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Is anyone doing that when the game's on telly?
You'd be surprised. Do hit like, do hit thumbs up, do get into the comments, do leave us a rating and review. And for myself and Sam, fingers crossed, the next time you hear from us, next time you see us, we'll be celebrating Newcastle United in the Carabao Cup final.